I will be teaching you how to paint a red rose in acrylic with loose brush strokes. So let's get into it. So you'll get this reference photo if you're on my Patreon channel. I always give a downloadable reference photo. So, and I edit the video after I record it with the thumbnail in there so that you can kind of follow along. So to start off, I've got out my acrylic colors here. I put out some cad yellow light, alizarin crimson, Indian yellow, cad red light and cad red dark, transparent red oxide, ultramarine blue and burnt umber, and some sap green. This is a sad little bit of paint here that I threw away the tube because it was like too dried up. So it was like, I think, Jenkins green, but it just was really no good. So I threw it away. This time of year in Arizona, everything's kind of, I feel like things can dry out quicker. So I'll have to reboot my paint supplies soon. So I want to do this simple as I can to show you how I would go about painting this. So I'm going to use a little bit just to block in where the rose is going to go. I'm just going to use some of this transparent red oxide, and I'm just going to sort of place the rose like in the middle here. And I'm just doing this little demo on this canvas paper, and you can buy it at Michael's. I'll put a link in the description below. It's just handy to do, even just to practice on. So I'm just going to put that in there, and I like that this rose is sort of like one of those garden roses, so it's a little less intimidating to paint than like one of those really kind of rigid store like Safeway flowers. You know, they're like super square and perfect. So I'm just actually going to add some Indian yellow in the background with some of the sap. Sorry, I was going to kind of gray it down, but I think I'm going to just use some of these kind of greens in the background. And with the Indian yellow and the sap, you get sort of a goldy green color. The paper, you could put a little layer of gesso on there. It is like a gessoed watercolor paper. I think that's basically what it is. But the reason I'm doing this is you just need something, because you need some contrast to the red. Otherwise, your edges won't show up. So I'll just put in a few marks here. And this is a real beginner's tutorial, but you can also learn something, I hope, if you're more an advanced painter as well. So I'm going to try my best just to keep it simple. So once you have your kind of area marked off where you're going to put the rose, then you can go in, and I'm going to just use a bit of this alizarin crimson. And I'm going to do this really simple today. So you'll see, some of you will have seen my other lessons, and you're going to be like, what is she doing? But I want to really show you how simple you can make a rose. So I'm getting my dark layer in there first, and you can already shape some of those petals in. And also you'll notice I'm using a brush that really gives me an advantage to keep my painting loose, because it's about an inch. It's a 3/4 inch acrylic brush I got at Michael's. I'll try to also leave that in the description. But you can see my edges are loose, just kind of going around and making some of those petals as I look at the reference photo. But now that I've got that layer in there, now I can go and add a little bit of this cad red dark. And you want to have enough contrast between, between the petals. So that's why I like starting off dark, so you can see already I've got some contrast, which also makes it have some dimension. So I think I need a little more of that base here, especially where I want to see more contrast. I'm going to add a little bit more of that alizarin. So I'm just putting a fair amount of cad red dark in there. And you see I'm just trying to make this really loose and really, simple here. Now I'm going to add some cad red light. And you'll see also as you add different layers how it changes the dimension. You can see more of the shape coming out. So I just got some cad red light now, and I'm just going to add some of those highlights in there so you can see where, you can add some of those petals, leaving the dark in between. Oh, my paint is catching a little too much light from the room there, so I'm sorry about that. I just noticed it when I looked at my preview there. Hopefully that's better. Just kind of pulling that paint up to the edge there, like that. So you start by making the space where you're going to put your rose, and then you want to start with your, you can block in using kind of any transparent color you want, really. And then you want to build up your layers from dark to light. So we did alizarin, and then we added some cad red dark, and then we're now adding the cad red light, and can add a little bit of this cad yellow to the mix just to get some kind of lighter. And I'm just trying to keep my brush strokes nice and loose. So for the final highlight of the red rose, you just want to get a little bit of this white in there just to give it, and I'll add a little bit of that cad yellow. And then you want to look at your reference and just kind of put in a few of those spots where there's some real kind of light catching those. And this kind of technique you can do really easy this is acrylic and it dries pretty fast. So if you can imagine my oil painters that are going to hopefully try this with oil, you're going to be able to really blend some of those strokes a bit. You just get a little more drying time. But as you can see, I've got the loose brush strokes. Using this wide brush really helps me to get those. And then once you kind of feel you've got something you like there, I can go back in with some of this alizarin and just sort of glaze in a few darker spots. Like I'm looking at my reference and I can see there's some real dark in the center, especially some little darker notes in there. And that also helps it with adding some dimension to your painting if you get some of those contrast notes back in there. And even in the shadows, what I like to do sometimes is I'll get a little bit of this glazing gloss liquid and I'll put a little bit of that out on my palette. And another fun thing you can do is add a little ultramarine blue into that glazing medium. So you get a nice blue. It's not gonna, the gloss medium will dry clear. So it's really fun to try because this will dry clear. So you'll get this in the shadows, little bits of that blue, but when it dries, this is really opaque right now, but it'll dry with a bit of that blue kind of note to the paint in there. And it just kind of adds a whole nother level of, and if you were working on the background too, you can add it in just the greens that are down in the shadows there. And just remember, the more paint you add to it, the more will be left behind when it dries. So kind of trying hard to keep it loose, and so in that you don't want to over paint. But if you want to do this little tutorial and just and you want to finish it up a little, you could put a few. It's kind of almost like you're looking down at the rose. You could, just for fun, if you want to add a little more detail, just kind of put some of those leaves in there. I can't resist once I get going. It's like, it's just fun to play with the paint. And it also makes the red really stand out, you'll notice. So I put out some gold just to show you, like if you were working on a lot of red roses, say you use this demo and you really like it and you want to kind of make a larger painting with it, and you want to make it kind of decorative. I put out this gold because the gold paint, and this is the tube. It's called iridescent rich gold. I think I bought it for making Christmas cards one year, but just with the red, if you're making a decorative painting, just to add a little bit of that gold here and there, I feel like it just kind of adds like a real nice touch if you're not like if you're gonna hang it in like a bedroom or something. I feel like it would look really pretty with the red. So just kind of have fun with that, you know. The purists would be angry at me, you know, for using a color like that. But you know what? I'm just having fun, and I hope you try things too. And take some of that bright red and kind of really glob on some of those edges just to give it some texture that's, you know, really stands out. And just have fun. I hope you enjoy this technique. I haven't done many, so I'll do one with the white rose and the pink rose too, just so you can see. Also, I'll do one with the with oil so you can see, because roses are really fun to do, and they're intimidating for a lot of people. But if you start off with something like the garden rose, you kind of have less intimidation, I feel. So I hope you have fun and enjoy this. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and share it with a friend. And thank you so much for watching.